Welcome to the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, brought to you by Southern Jewelry News and Jewelry Store Marketers.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Atlanta Jewelry Show and the Pearls of Wisdom podcast. And today I have a retailer out of where?
We're from Glendive, Montana.
Glendive, Montana. How many miles is that from Atlanta?
Oh my goodness. It's a whole lot of miles.
How do you even get from Glendive, Montana to Atlanta? Like, what would be the travel route?
Yeah, well, we start with a 3-hour drive to the nearest airport.
Yikes.
And we do drive. We don't ride our horses. Mm-hmm. We drive to the airport.
Is it Model A or Model T?
It's a modern car.
So they do have electricity and everything.
We have electricity and running water and
internet,
houses and internet, and all the things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Those of us in the South, things we don't know down here.
Things you don't know. Yeah. So we start with a 3-hour drive to the airport, and then typically to get to Atlanta, we'll fly from Bismarck, North Dakota. Mm-hmm. We'll fly into Minneapolis, and then we hit Atlanta.
Wow.
So it's all day. It's all day travel. But.
So before we get into why you were at the Atlanta Jewelry Show, how long, tell us about you and the jewelry business. How long have you been in the jewelry business?
Well, I kind of say I've done it kind of all my life because I'm third generation in the industry. My grandfather opened our family's jewelry store in the 40s when he returned from the war.
And was this in
Montana, Chinook, Montana, which is an even tinier town in Montana that hardly anybody has ever heard of. So very, very little town.
Speaking of the town, how many people are in the town that your store is in?
It's about 5,000.
Okay.
Around there. Yep. Okay.
So your grandfather?
Yeah, so my grandfather was trained as a watchmaker, opened our family's jewelry store when he returned from in the war. Mm-hmm. And then my father was a goldsmith and diamond broker and had our family store until the late 90s when it closed. And then I opened my store 10 years ago. So
what's the name of your store?
It's Sugar Plum Fine Jewelry.
Okay.
And Sugar Plum is my mom's nickname for me. So that's where the name came from, and it just kind of stuck. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've had our store open for 10 years.
Okay. Well, what kind of store is it? What do you do?
So lots of custom repair in-house. We say it's, full service fine jewelry store with a focus on custom and excellent repair.
Okay. So now when it comes to the travel schedule to get to Atlanta, why isn't you come to the Atlanta Jewelry Show?
I think we love the Atlanta show for so many reasons. That not just the people that are here, the vendors that we meet, but the hospitality of the South, for one thing, is just fabulous, and we always just enjoy that. The weather's nice. It's always warm down here.
Because I asked this before, but I know our readers are asking, because in Atlanta right now it's going to be 100 degrees.
Yeah.
What's a hot day in Montana? What's your hottest day of the year?
100 is a hot day in Montana. It does get very hot.
I would have never thought Montana got to 100.
Yeah, it does get very hot. It also gets just achingly cold. Yeah. I mean, 40 below, 45 below without wind chill is not an uncommon thing to have happen. So we do have a huge wide swing of weather, but it's dry. It's not that hot and humid, which I love.
Like they say about Arizona, it's a dry heat, and it's still 114 degrees. It doesn't matter if it's a dry cold, it's still 40 below.
It's true. Once it gets zero,
All right, but so at the Atlanta Jewelry Show, so sorry to get sidetracked, but anyway, so you come to Atlanta kind of what is your mission when you're at this show? Kind of what's your goal?
Yeah. So a lot of times when I come to the show, I'm looking for specific things for specific customers. So I kind of have a growing list of, I'll reach out to my clients and say, hey, I'm going to go to the show. It's one of my favorite shows in the industry. It's one of my some of my favorite vendors are there. What can I look for you? So I typically come with a list of things I'm looking for. And that can be, on my list for this show was a gray sapphire in a weird shape.
A gray sapphires, because it's crystallized aluminum oxide, and it crystallizes in all colors of the rainbow, from colorless to dark black. Yeah. But that is, I think, the first time in my career I've ever heard anybody use the term a
Yeah.
gray sapphire.
Gray
Have
sapphire.
you ever seen one? I've never seen one.
Actually, I found one yesterday,
Oh,
and
really?
I'm going to
During
go
the
back
show?
to the vendor today and go get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
See why
It's
you
great.
need to come to the Atlanta Jewelry Show. Not only can you get on the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, but you can find a gray sapphire. That's weird.
Yeah.
I'd never
Yeah.
heard of it. So anyway,
Yeah,
okay, so,
it's beautiful, and it's a beautiful stone. It's in this really kind of odd geometric shape that is unlike any other. It's not a standard cut. So there's some things like that I come for because I know that I can go to those vendors that I know and trust, the ones that I maybe have met them at the Atlanta show, previously, and I come back to see those same vendors. To be able to go into the booth, to see your vendor partners, who are many times have become friends.
yes.
Go look at their things that they have. Let them show you the things that are brand new. You look at it, you touch it, you feel it. Like I tell my clients, I am eyes on and I'm hands on when I'm at the show. So if you have a request, I'm going to go find it. And then also just to have some new products for the store. There's something to be said for being able to look at those things in person. Maybe we find a new vendor, we find a new product, but we wouldn't have known about it if we didn't come to the show.
Well, as a retailer myself, we get inundated with all of the new catalogs that come out.
Right.
And there's one thing to have the catalog that comes out that's this thick.
Exactly.
But then there's the one that comes out that there's, 5 or 6 pages. And
Yeah.
you're kind of in that. I need to look at that. So you set it over here, and then the next day 4 more come
Exactly.
in. And you never really get around and I hate
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
these vendors spend a lot of money
Absolutely.
to develop these, and it can get lost in the
Yeah.
mix. But when you're actually at the jewelry show, that catalog's not buried in a pile over here. You're actually looking
It's
at
right
and
there.
they've got them right out front.
Yeah.
And something you would have missed just in the daily grind of life of just running a business.
Yeah.
When you're at the show, you're here for that purpose. And
Right.
they're going to actually show you, hey, did you see our flyer we put out? And you're like, maybe it was about
Maybe.
this. Yeah. And it's like, well, let me see it. And then
Right.
they show it. And then you're like, I like it. I don't like it. Or but
Right.
what about this over here?
Yeah. Well, because in the daily grind, like you're saying, the daily grind of just running your business, and I have that pile on my desk right now,
Yeah.
so it's hard to get to those things. But when you come to the show, there's nothing else to focus on.
Yes.
You're focused. We have a couple of days to get a lot of things done, and it's just different. And you also get to kind of do it on your own. Even though we have a very short period of time, you also get to do it on your own time, right?
Yes.
So like, I got here an hour ago, but we went out for coffee first, and then I'm going to come look, and I'm going to get my work done. But it's different than having a catalog in the store, and it's different than the vendor coming into my space too.
Well, and one of the things that I realized, because a lot of the vendors in today's modern technology society, that you're either emailing or talking on the phone or texting back and forth.
Right.
And these are people that you've been dealing with for several years and you've never actually met them. But it really changes your relationship when you actually face to face. Hey,
Absolutely.
it's nice to meet you. And then when you interact with them, it changes everything about your interaction, but in a positive way.
Yes, because I think it's just like when we have customers come into our stores and we get to know them personally. And, so you kind of develop that same relationship with your vendor partners too, where, like I said, you become friends in a lot of ways, or at least there's a different level of respect because you know each other in person and you can shake their hand and, and that's just a wonderful experience to be able to come network in that way and, catch up with your vendors and,
via
what's going
text, you don't realize a lot of the things you have in common.
Yeah, absolutely.
That when all of a sudden you meet this vendor you deal with, and,
Right.
we call the same people all the time.
Right.
And you're just dealing with them. But when you meet them in person, you realize that, wait, this person likes fly fishing. Well, I like to fly fish.
Right.
And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you start every conversation with fly fishing,
Exactly.
then get to business, and then you finish the conversation with fly
With
fishing.
fly fishing,
Wait,
exactly.
why am I comparing Montana and fly fishing? I read a series of novels from what is it, CJ Box, these Joe
Okay.
Pickens novels, and he's a game warden up there in Montana,
Yep.
somewhere up in that range, and that's his hobby is going fly fishing.
Yep.
So I tend to think about.
I
that.
don't fly fish, but a lot of people in Montana do.
Uh-huh.
So
Well, now, have you found anything about now the gray sapphire we know
Yeah,
about, but have you
yeah.
found anything yet at the show? Because I know you said you just got here, and I kind of just wrangled you in. But
That's okay.
have you found anything that you were like, wow, this is something really cool? I have.
yeah. What did you find?
It's literally right there. Like, see where those pearls
Yeah,
are?
yeah.
Catty cornered to it right
Okay.
there. It's a light box, and I'll put it in my column. But it's a light box, and I wish I had.
I know what you're talking about. I saw it.
But
It's great.
It literally, it's app based. It's the only thing in the world I've ever seen that I approve for artificial intelligence. But it actually videotapes, and you've got an app on your phone, and the app starts the rotation,
Spins,
and
yep.
auto focuses, and then AI reads it and generates what it
Right, the
is.
correct
Because
image,
the
right?
hardest part about doing social media is you're writing about a piece you just made, and you're like, all right, well, this was, inspired by nature, and somebody's like, you've used that like 100 times, and
Right.
but writing the description, but this actually uses AI technology, so
Yeah.
that was one of the cool things. What have you found that was
Right.
cool?
I found a new line that I think my customers are going to be really excited about, especially for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we've kind of seen in the market before. It has kind of that shimmering center, but it was a lot of just new designs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my customers are going to be really excited about that. And like we're saying, it's something I know about, but wasn't something I had seen from this particular vendor.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with the construction of the pieces, looking at them.
You can't determine that on a website.
No, you can't. I mean, this is a look and feel and, test it out and turn it upside down and turn it backwards and see how it performs. And you can't do that on the website.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's great.
Katelynne Eslick of Sugar Plum
Fine
Jewelers
Jewelry,
and Sugar Plum Fine Jewelers, and what's the name of the town again?
Glendive.
In Glendive, Montana. Thank you for coming in, and I'm going to let you
course.
go so you can go buy that new
Shop,
line for
shop,
your
shop.
store. That's it. All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks,
and
Chuck.
thanks for watching Pearls of Wisdom podcast from the Atlanta Jewelry Show.
Thanks for listening to the Pearls of Wisdom Jewelry Podcast. For more information about the show, please visit southernjewelrynews.com/podcast, brought to you by Southern Jewelry News and Jewelry Store Marketers. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you can catch the next show. See you then.